Have you ever felt?
Are you listening?
With veganism on the rise, Generation Vegan interviews the up-and-coming hottest vegans, and in this podcast, we teach you the practical side of having a plant-based diet. Today, we are talking to James Weiss. He is a vegan from Florida who has taken his name and started a YouTube channel and a backyard gym that has inspired and continues to inspire many people. So let's go ahead and jump on in. So welcome back, everyone, to Generation Vegan, the podcast that shows you how to live a practical, plant-based lifestyle. Today, I have a super inspiring vegan athlete who lives in Florida, and he has his own backyard full-time gym, which is so inspiring to me because I have tried that so many times and have failed multiple times, but this guy will really make me want to go vegan. I just am so excited to introduce James Weiss.
How's it going, everybody? I'm glad to be here. Yes. Applause.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of why you went vegan and a little bit of your background.
Well, let's rewind to like 4 or 5 years ago. I was a meat eater back then. I've been vegan for 3 years now, but like 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting these like really dry spots under my eyes, and like it went to my scalp. My scalp was always dry, and I'm like, why is this happening? And then I realized that I just started cutting foods out of my diet little by little, and then I realized that I had a severe, like not too severe, but like a nut allergy, because I used to eat a lot of peanut butter. I used to drink a lot of almond milk, and then I cut those out of my diet, and like 2 weeks later, and I was clean. And then I started realizing, is what I'm eating good for me? And then I started going through that transition, and I started watching documentaries and researching. And then what really kicked me off into this vegan lifestyle was I watched the documentary Forks Over Knives, and it really changed my life, because there's this guy in Forks Over Knives that was an athlete. I'm like, man, I could be that guy. I could be better than that guy. But I think he was like an MMA fighter, athlete, something like that. I'm like, dang, if he could do it, I definitely can. And then it was a slow progression, and then I just dropped meat cold turkey, lost about 15 pounds, and then was looking super skinny. But 3 years later, and here I am. In short.
So, well, I'm down to go long because I want to get to know you more. But when you say skinny, is that correlated negatively or positively? Like you were fat and you lost weight and got skinny, or you were muscular and got...
Well, I was about 170, and then I lost 15 pounds. So I lost like muscle. So it's just like I lost a lot of lean muscle, because I was like, I didn't really know what to eat, and also used to just like eating chicken every day and getting my protein through there, and drinking whey protein or whatnot. And I just lost it, 15 pounds in the first month, and it was just like constantly evolving into a sense of seeing what foods work for you. That's why I emphasize so much even on my YouTube channel, and the people I train is like, everyone is different. What works for me may not work for you, but I could give you some helpful tips and some guidelines, and you could just work from that. That's why I love sunflower butter. That's my alternative to peanut butter, because I can't have peanut butter anymore, but sunflower butter is so much better if you guys want to try that out. But yeah, 15 pounds, and I started putting oats in my shakes. I'm on a shake diet. That's what my diet consists of. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I have like 3 or 4 shakes, like meal shakes. I throw like everything in there. But back then, I didn't discover sweet potatoes, and that's the key. But I used to drop like oats, protein, stuff like that, just like dry oats, and I was just like still like not gaining mass. I was just still skinny. But I was like, and I'm like, what if I add sweet potatoes to my shake? And then I added those, and I started gaining muscle. I started gaining more weight, and I started seeing my body where I wanted it to be, and then I could grow from there. My diet has definitely, it's been a progression, and it's just trying different things. So if you guys are in the vegan lifestyle or just wanting to start it, research, see what's out there, watch my videos. I give some quinoa is amazing, lentils are amazing. These are the things that I discovered over the past 2 years. And the first year of being a vegan was tough, definitely, just growing and seeing what works for you. But if you do the research, do the time, experiment on your body and experiment the foods that you consume, you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you'll see the gains, and you'll see the progression. You'll see a healthier lifestyle for sure. I mean, I'm living proof that you could gain muscle, work out hard, not lose energy, not lose muscle if you do it right. That's with anything, doing it right, taking your time, focus, and you will get the gains and reap the rewards for sure.
Well, I want to talk about one, your YouTube. It's awesome.
Thank
And two, why were you doing shakes? Was that because you didn't cook or couldn't cook or?
Shakes for my lifestyle are the quickest thing that I can consume and able to do other things. If I had have a meal, it'll take a while. I just don't want to scarf down the meal. I'd rather just drink a shake, be over in 15 minutes, get all my calories I need for that certain allotted time, and then move on. I do a lot of art as well, and I like to do other things. My schedule these days is crazy, so drinking a shake is the most time efficient thing I could do, because I throw everything into my shakes. I throw my carbs and proteins, my fats, everything in there. It's like a complete meal, but just in a liquid form. But that's not saying I don't like to eat
Right.
unblended foods. But during Monday through Friday, I'm pretty strict on it, and I drink my shakes and get it in.
Can you give us your favorite shake recipe?
I made a YouTube video about it, so maybe you guys can watch it there.
Okay.
But I can give you a little tease.
Also, for the people that are watching, I'm going to link Forks Over Knives too.
Forks Over Knives, yes. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of great documentaries out there that people could watch. Recently, I watched Cowspiracy. That was a great one as well. Just go to the other side and see what really happens behind that blanket that's over your face, and to see what's really happened to these animals, what's really happened to our environment, what's really happened to Earth, because all these livestock is constantly grown and having to feed them, and rainforests, it's just being destroyed so we get more food for these animals that we're breeding, essentially, so you could have some steak on your plate.
Right, but it's pretty scary for people, which is kind of like the point of this podcast, because I think I'm blessed to have gotten sick and had to go vegan.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like if I didn't get sick, I probably wouldn't have gone vegan. So what do you, or at least not now, maybe in the future I would have, because once I went vegan, I'm like, this totally aligns with my core values, and it just makes so much more sense. And I won't even kill a bug or a roach or anything. I would eat chicken or steak or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, so that doesn't make sense. So it's
the contradiction.
Right.
from birth, your mother feeds you, she puts chicken on your plate and say, hey, that's good for you, eat it, it's your protein, you're going to get your protein from that. And then so we're conditioned as kids. I was conditioned as kids. I love chicken, I love eating it, I thought it tastes great.
Right.
So it's really the education you must learn and become deconditioned to eating meat all the time.
Right. I think the biggest thing to being conditioned in the first place is the social aspect of it. So I know, like, yesterday I made these bomb buffalo chicken wings, but the Beyond Meat chicken.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, so good. And I realized that I could really serve this to my future husband or my kids, and they would associate, meatless buffalo chickens with having a good time and bonding with their family, whereas I associated it with actual chicken wings. And telling you guys, this guy's an artist.
I have some
on his Facebook. It's amazing.
I have some Batman. I'm obsessed with Batman, and I cosplayed as Batman. So I did some art pieces over here, I think last year, of Batman. And I have a bunch of other stuff. Unfortunately, like these days, my art time is definitely limited. But I try to get it in at least 1 or 2 art pieces a month, and that's great because a lot of people just do 1 art piece and then call it done. But I try to stay consistent. But with that growth, there's always a give and take in life. So when I started being a vegan, like my art was, going crazy, but my business was just growing. It was sprouting. So I had a lot more time to do art. I was like killing it. I was like, I want to get better. I want to be great. But then my business started. So like the first 2 years, art was booming. I was creating art like 4 or 5 times a month. But then my business started growing. It's something you wanted. So be careful what you wish for, because you have to there's a give and take. You have a ton of clients, so then you're limited on your free time and you're limited on your time to do art. But always find time to do something that you love. I will never stop drawing. I will never, stop training my clients because my art is taking a hit. Art is like a therapy for me. I get to unwind, listen to some tunes, create something. I always try to create something. I like to tell people, whether it's music, whether it's doing something that you love, reading the book, just create something. Have that time for yourself where you're doing something productive for the soul, I believe. That's what art is for me. I truly love it, and this is what I want. I see growth. I'm happy with it. Even though I'm busting ass, it's definitely rewarding, and it's going to a greater future, and this is definitely what I wanted, to grow my outdoor fitness camp and see people love it and see people thank me for how far they've come, and just them posting images of themselves on either Instagram or Facebook and then giving me a shout out. It's rewarding and makes it all worth it. I love it. It makes me emotional. But
emotional.
I've seen great changes in a lot of people, and I love pushing people to do things that they thought was impossible. I've had a lot of female clients that past 2-3 years, they're like, I can never do a pull-up. I will never be able to do a pull-up. This older lady, she's I'm not older, I wouldn't say it. She's like 45, something like that. She's like, I've never been able to do a pull-up. And I'm like, you're going to freaking do it. She was in great shape. I mean, she's in decent shape. So I knew that she could do a pull-up. I'm like, you're going to do it. We're going to practice. Every time you come, you're going to do like 5, 6. I'll spot you, and you'll be able to do one on your own. And this yesterday, she came. She's like, James, look at me. And then she's like, I'm going to do a pull-up. I'm like, all right, let me see it. And then she pulled herself up. I was just like,
it feels so good.
It was definitely, I'm like, now, like I said, you'll be able to get 10 by yourself by the end of the year. That's what the goal I made for it. What stopped you from being at it at the gym or working out?
I actually was I competed in a bodybuilding show.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and I did really well. But then about 3 months after that, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, and I couldn't walk for 4 months. And then I was put on chemotherapy. And I know the chemotherapy to basically kill your immune system. It's not cancer chemotherapy. It's much less intense, but it's still pretty freaking intense, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't. So yeah, I was on chemotherapy, but that's why I went vegan, because they were like, "Oh, you're going to be on chemo for the rest of your life," and I'm like, "You're crazy." Yeah, so I did all this research and I found out that dairy is the main cause of a lot of stuff. So I got rid of the dairy, and then once it made such a drastic difference in my life, I was like, okay, let's do the meat. It was hard. It took about a 6-month transition for meat itself. I mean, dairy, I was pretty much like 1 week transition, and I was like done with that. But it was so insane. So now I wanted to do this podcast to teach other people how to live our lifestyle. And I actually wanted to know how you felt about the fact, okay, because before I was vegan, I was always about carb depleting, and I was always about protein. And all my clients, I would tell them to carb deplete. But then when I went vegan, all I do is eat carbs now. And I'm the leanest, healthiest, brightest I've ever been. And I just don't understand, because I'm very smart. I have a lot of common sense. So if I can be fooled in that way for so long, like how?
Because a lot of people don't know that meat is like the leading cause of inflammation in the body. So if you're eating a lot of meat and you're cutting carbs, essentially you're cutting down that small inflammation or that bloating look that you might get from eating meat. So they're thinking, oh, maybe it's the carbs that I have to cut down, so I'll stop looking less bloated. And looking at pictures of me, like when I used to eat meat, it was like puffy muscle, I like to call it. And that's how I could tell when I'm walking down the street, like who's a meat eater, because you could tell they have that puffy muscle. So I'm the same way. This is the most carbs I've ever eaten in my life, and I'm still lean. I'm gaining muscle, and I don't feel heavy. That's when I used to eat meat, I used to feel heavy. My gut used to feel heavy. And I was eating carbs, eating meat, and I just felt weighed down. I didn't feel light. I didn't feel super energetic. So when people are like cutting those carbs down, they really should be cutting the animal product, essentially.
Right.
They shouldn't be cutting carbs, because carbs are, if it's a, nice complex carb, I love sweet potatoes. I might say that a lot. But if you're adding that into your diet, you should be getting stronger, getting more like lean, and not being worried about, getting extra fat or like staying bloated. Because I still have a 6-pack. I'm still ripped, and I eat like 4 sweet potatoes a day.
It's insane.
It's meat that's the issue. It's meat that's causing people to stay puffy and not get leaned out quicker, I believe.
So my mom went vegan for 3 days. She's been doing really good as far as like trying to transition. But when she went completely vegan for 3 days, she got really bloated. And she sent me a picture, and she was like, I feel really bloated. Now my cousin and I were both like, okay, that's transition. Like, you got to get past that.
Yep.
What do you suggest that she do to not feel so discomfort in her stomach?
It depends. Like, what are you eating? That's the main deal. Like, what kind of foods are you eating? Are you eating a lot of grains to make up for those carbs that you aren't, I don't know, the meat that you aren't eating? Because a lot of grains, I'm also gluten intolerant to the point where I don't feel great when eating gluten. Don't feel great at all. That's why I stick to sweet potatoes or some other source of carb that doesn't have gluten in it. Are you eating a lot of gluten in your diet? There's going to be that detox period where your body's going to not look great, and you're going to just get it all out of you. You got to go through those periods where you're working. You just got to push through it. I would say eat more raw foods, as my dog barks in the background. Eat more fresh veggies, fruits. Cleanse your body. Let all that waste in your gut get out. Hey, come here.
Come on over here.
If I pick her up, then my other dog is gonna go crazy. It's okay, Mama.
My favorite picture of you is with your dog, and he's making like the crazy face. And
yeah, he's currently sleeping under my feet right now, as my other dog tries to.
So could you explain to people, okay, my mom said she was eating onions, bell peppers, all kinds, mushrooms, and beans. That was it? That was all you were eating? Like,
what kind of beans? Black beans?
Yeah.
You gotta watch for black beans. They kind of like hurt my gut a bit. So I like when I do my transition to black beans, I like to keep it on the small dose per day because we can't really digest black beans as well. That's why people fart or flatulate when they eat too many black beans because they're just getting that stuff they can't digest and just farting it out. So just watch it. Go to lentils, go to quinoa, and try that out. Sweet potatoes are great.
You love sweet potatoes.
People have to know. I should be sponsored by all sweet potatoes, and they should hook me up. Soon, one day, I am going to have a farm where I have all sweet potatoes. I don't have to pay an arm and a leg for about 20, 30 sweet potatoes per week. That's the goal.
There should be a shirt that says, "Hey, sweet potato, are you vegan?"
Sweet potato, please sponsor. Please sponsor.
The creators of sweet potato, please sponsor James Rice.
Yes, that's what I need.
She said she was eating navy beans, red beans, carrots.
Carrots, okay.
I think for me, for my advice to her would just be to push past it and try to go a week and just really focus on water and just let your body kind of get crazy and then like go. I feel like it's the same as getting rid of drinking coffee or soda or smoking cigarettes or any drugs, like.
Because you go through that detox period phase where your body is just in shock because it doesn't know what's happening to it. That's like when people quit eating sugar or coffee or something like that. They're like, they need something. So your body's in that like standstill, and then you just got to keep pushing past it, and then it'll balance out again. Also, don't cook so many of your veggies and stuff like that. Have a lot more rawness. That's what I like to tell most of my clients when they're like, how do I lose weight? How do I get a 6-pack? I'm like, all right, what are you eating? Are you like cooking, steaming all your veggies? Or are you having some raw? Are you having enough fruits in your diet? Are you drinking enough water? Stuff like that. People got to add more raw foods in their diets. I add a ton of freaking mixed greens to my shakes and blend it all up and chug it down. And plenty of fruits as well, and avocados. Man, avocados are great too. Also, coconut oil. If you want to know the main things I love, sweet potatoes, number one. Sun Warrior protein. I do love lentils. It's a tie between coconut oil and hemp oil. I love those two oils. What's another thing I do love? I don't know. Somewhere. I'm sure I'll say it. But try those things out. Those will add to my shakes on the daily for sure. And people think they're going to gain weight off coconut oil. Man, I go through coconut oil quick, man. And I still feel great.
Well, on that note, though, like how, let's say you're arguing or just informing someone who has been a bodybuilder or is a bodybuilder or is so programmed to the whole protein, carb deplete. How do you justify your vegan actions? Like the only thing that I can say to people is, look, all the advertising is sponsored by the meat and dairy industry. That's it. That's the only argument I have. So what would you say?
It's hard to say because they're so conditioned. They have their meal plans all set out, but you really have to go to the aspect of really getting to them and saying you can still gain muscle. You just have to do it plant-based. There's plenty of proteins. If you're having a bulk of your protein intake through like powder form shakes, try to transition into a plant-based rather than a whey milk-based. And start from there and have more raw foods in your diet. Maybe deplete some of that chicken or fish and substitute it for something plant-based protein. It's going to be hard for them because they see where they're at. That's how I was, they're scared to go through that transition period where they think they're going to lose a lot of muscle. They think they're going to, get super skinny. But I mean, it's just all about pushing through and seeing the results at the end. I don't know if that answered your question, but it's pretty hard to inform these people. Where the carb, I'm training this girl actually that's going to compete in bikini. She has an awesome physique. So like she's telling me what she's going to eat, and I'm telling her like, she's like, should I cut all this out? Should I cut all these fats out of my diet? I'm like, you're looking great. She's like 5 weeks out. I'm told you don't have to kill yourself so much. You don't have to she's a mother of 3. She works full time, and she doesn't get enough rest. So I'm like, you got to treat your body and not just deplete it to the max. I mean, 4 weeks out should be looking great. And I tell her, you got to have your avocados, you got to have your fats, you got to have a lot of, get your protein intake and get those plenty of nourishing greens in your diet, and you'll be feeling better. So this carb depletion thing, don't live it up too much. Maybe cut your meats a little bit down, have a plant-based protein instead, and I think you'll be looking just great. And that's what I should tell her today. She's going to come out here. I'm going to tell her, hey, stop eating so much damn meat. And you'll lose that fat that you're complaining around about your hips. So this is bloat, man. It's just bloated.
I know. You really can tell who are the meat eaters just by the puffiness of the muscles. Every vegan athlete I interview, they're so lean. It's quality freaking muscles. So at the beginning of your transition, what did you find the most hard thing? That doesn't sound like a right thing. The most complicated thing to get over, give up, and
it was definitely trying to find the replacement for meat. And really, I think every meat eater is so sheltered to a degree. I'm realizing how many great foods are out there. A lot of my clients, there's this one lady that's been coming, that I've been training for 2 years. When she first came in, she used to eat like bacon, ton of meat with every single meal. I'm like, you got to cut that out. She was lean, but she was like that skinny fat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to cut down on all that meat. Have some more fresh foods in your diet, whole foods. Start like implementing more plant-based protein in your diets. And now she's eating like probably like a serving of meat, like 1 serving of meat per day, or probably like 5 times per week total. And she's the strongest she's been. She's looking more. She's definitely, lean muscle has increased tenfold. Now she's doing pull-ups with a belt weighted, and she's one of those people that says she will never do a pull-up. This in 2 years, great changes could happen if you change your diet and really listen to yourself. You don't have to feel like trash. I think that's another thing. When I used to eat a lot of carbs, a lot of gluten in my diet, I thought that's how you were supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel heavy. But then when you cut it out and you're like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel, nice, energetic, light on my feet. And that's how we're supposed to be. I think people are so conditioned of feeling weighed down and feeling crappy after every meal, and they have to take, pharmaceuticals just to feel better. And people will like pop in, I got migraines, I got headaches. Are you dehydrated? Are you drinking enough water? Right. You're just going to pop that, Advil, Aleve, so you could just feel better. That's when a lot of people complain about headaches. I'm like, are you drinking enough water? That's the first symptom of dehydration. You get headaches, and you got to drink that water. And there's so many ways to get stronger. Listen to your body. I'm telling you right now that you can feel better in a year if you stick with a plant-based diet than you do feel right now. I feel amazing. As like you said, back in probably like 6-7 years ago, or even I was a huge runner all through high school, all after high school, before high school. I used to run all the time. My joints used to kill me, my knees especially, all that pounding on the knees. And when I used to work as a mechanic in a mechanic shop, and I used to stand all day. Even when I was like in my early years of like being 16 and getting like a cashier job, my knees, just standing in place for a long time, my knees used to swell up and just hurt. So I decided when I was like, 20, 21, 22, that I was going to cut dairy out of my diet. Because my friend was just like, dairy causes a lot of inflammation in the body. 2 weeks later, my knees stopped hurting. And that was really the transition period, whether the start of it all. Seeing what really affects my body when I consume it. And dairy will definitely hurt your joints. and keep you sore longer and keeping your back pain staying longer, if you do have back pain, if you're sitting a lot, if you're standing a lot, they cause imbalances in the body. Well, if you sit all day, if you sit 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, you're eventually going to become a chair. Your hips are going to get tight. Your shoulders are going to round forward. You're going to become a messed up chair. And that's why I tell people stretching is so essential. You have to open the body. You have to open your hips because you're sitting all day. And I have a lot of clients that their shoulders are rounded forward like this.
Yeah. Actually, I used to have really nice, like, built up shoulders. And ever since I started my online company and doing everything online, I sit at my desk all day. And I was like, look at that. That's not it's not supposed to slope so down like that.
Yeah.
So,
You gotta open the body. Get like a towel or a band and just hips forward. That's why I tell my clients, you gotta open the body. We have to open ourselves to the universe and open ourselves and breathe. We have to breathe. A lot of people don't know how to breathe. It's funny. People are scared to breathe heavy. They're shallow breathers. Like they don't know how to breathe. If you can't breathe correctly, how are you gonna lift heavy weight? How are you gonna become stronger? The society has become chairs. You sit all day, you get in the car, you sit again, and then you take a shower, eat, and sit on the couch. You're sitting for a long time, a part of your day. And you complain about how your joints hurt, how your hips are tight, how your back is in pain. You have to stretch. That's why yoga is good. Corrective stretching, I love. Just opening the body and breathing. You'll be surprised of how many people, I have people take a band in their hands and they're standing up and their hips are forward. And I tell them to breathe. And as soon as you tell them to breathe, you should try this too, or anybody watching. If you stand up, open your body, lean forward so your hips are going forward. And then you you breathe deep and then your belly starts shaking. That's a good thing. You really got to, if your belly starts trembling, you're like, and you're just shaking. Don't fight it. Just keep going. That's your body just letting off all that stale energy and trying to open up and breathe so you could break through that wall and you could start breathing correctly. Breathe, people. It's essential.
Right. Well, I love that you are conscious enough. I don't know how old you were when you did that, but when you took dairy out of your diet just because your knees were inflamed, I feel like a lot of people, including myself, because I was a waitress, this, that, always on my feet. And I was like, oh, my knees hurt. And instead of being like, oh, what's in my diet? I was like, I need better shoes. I need a better floor mat. I need to work on my posture of standing. I never equated it to dairy, which is so
what you're consuming. It's definitely, that's the main factor in whether if a person has an ailment or their their back is hurting or their knees are in pain, their elbow. It's just, what are you eating in your diet? What's your posture 80% of the day? Are you sitting, standing? Are you stretching? Are you taking care of your body? It's just so essential what we eat and how we treat ourselves. It's gonna affect us. That's when people have knee pain, I'm gonna pop a painkiller. Instead of going to the root of the issue, you're just putting a big band-aid on the issue that's never gonna fully heal.
Right.
And that's what people have to learn, that nutrition, your health, if you do that right, your ailments will slowly start to fade away and you will start feeling the better you. Just like you were a kid. Running around.
Say slowly. I would say within a week, within 2 weeks, you'll feel it immediately.
Yeah, definitely based on the severity of it, for sure. 2 weeks, my knees were better, brand new.
Could you maybe give people examples of gluten that aren't so obvious?
Pizza. If you like pizza, you're screwed.
Well, as a vegan, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. One of my favorite places around here that I do love to eat, that's one of my definite cheat meals, is there's a place called Mellow Mushroom. I'm not sure if you guys have it where you guys are at, but they have vegan pizza. They have put Daiya cheese on it, and it's amazing. But the crust is filled with gluten. So I definitely feel it the next day if I do indulge and eat too much of it. I feel heavy. I don't sleep as well. So I usually do on the weekends, so I'm not training the next day. But stay away from like, flour tortillas, stuff like that. Crust, breads. If you do like sandwiches, go for a gluten-free option. I know there's a few of them. They're probably in the frozen food section of your local supermarket or health food store. I'm not too sure what other gluten products are there. Cereals have a lot of gluten in them. Watch out for that.
Soups do, but most of them already have dairy in them. So really, if you're already on this path, you're already not going to be eating it. But I'm struggling. I'm not going to lie. I'm struggling with giving up gluten because I feel, and I know that this is such a scarcity mentality, but I feel like I'm giving up all this animal products. I just need to give my mentality stretch, like a rest.
How do you feel about gluten?
And then I'll do, gluten free.
How do you feel when you do gluten? That's a question. That's the main question.
That's a good question. My thing is I was so consumed by pain that I don't really care about tiredness at the moment. I care about not being in pain, but I'm starting to notice now that I have been pain-free for almost 2 months now.
Okay.
I really want to start focusing on energy now. Like, okay, how do I get my energy to 150%?
Yep. Gluten's a pretty part of it. Depending on how much gluten you eat per day, I know like gluten severities are different from person to person.
Right.
Gluten to me is okay, but I know I'm not at my full peak and feeling my greatest. When I consume gluten, I feel tired, sluggish. So for me, I'm not at my best, and why not be at your best daily?
Right.
Feeling great. A lot of people have cheat meals. They're like, you're not living. I've had it all. My clients are some grade A. I love them, but they definitely talk back to me in the sense like, oh, I'm like, you got to eat this. If you really focus on your goal, if you're trying to lose that weight, you do that. They're like, but you're not living. I'm like, oh, okay. But that's just, it takes time. For those new people that are coming out and they're trying to lose weight, get better, get stronger, they're going to go through those hard times of, trying to break that cycle because they've been at, bad eating habits for months and years. How do you break that? You slowly have to break it down and realize if you do want a great change, you have to make a great change in your diet. Plain and simple. If you want great change with anything you do in life, there has to be sacrifices. And whether it's your time or whether it's having that garbage meal that you think it's going to taste great but not going to do anything for you. Take sacrifices for you to look away at those cookies and go eat some fresh fruit.
So can you tell everyone when is the last time that you messed up or on purpose or
for you guys, I am perfect. I'm just kidding. I don't really mess up. I do decide that maybe I want this. And I guess recently I could tell you guys about this. I don't know if you guys have Chili's where you guys are at, but I'm like, man, I'm craving a black bean burger. And they do have black bean burgers there. And I'm like, man, I want some French fries too. I really want to cheat today. And I had one, and it was not what it was all worked up to be. I didn't feel great. It tasted good going down, but it definitely wasn't worth it. And that's like, all right, last time. That's what I do with a lot of things. Even if it's like considered good for the masses, definitely wasn't good for me. And I accepted that cheat meal, and now it's in the past, and now I'm on my shakes. I'm feeling great, stronger. Yeah, I mean, I used to eat that gluten pizza, dairy-free pizza, vegan pizza at Mellow Mushroom, like weekly. I don't know what was wrong with me, but it was like probably last year or so, like last year and a half. I used to go like probably twice a month, 2 to 3 times a month to eat that vegan pizza. I used to get like 2 smalls and just like eat them up. But that's when I realized this is no good for me.
So what was the cheat about the black bean burger? Was that the cheese? Is that, you said you put cheese on it or no?
No, I didn't put any cheese. I just the quality of it was not good.
Oh, so it was still vegan.
Yeah, it was vegan. No, I haven't cheated from the vegan lifestyle. No, I'm just talking about cheat meals, like considered cheat meals. No, I haven't had any dairy products in the last 3 years. So 3 years next month. I thought it was in March. It's actually in May. So if you're following me on YouTube, I made a year 3 vegan in March and not May. But it's the same thing. I would have said the same thing and felt the same way. But yeah, so next month it will be 3 years for me. How long have you been vegan for?
That's crazy. I've been dairy-free for almost a year and a half.
Okay.
And then I've been vegan for almost a year. Wow. Yeah, almost a year. I mean, I definitely had my mess up points where, like at Christmas, I had, little bits of this and that. But the next day, I was feeling it, and that's when I was like, ugh. I definitely was like, ugh. Don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I haven't had any cheese or dairy in over 3 years. So I started cheating and going into that realm of not being vegan anymore, or not like a non-vegan food or something like that. I haven't gone to that realm of that, but I've definitely indulged in gluten and stuff like that.
When you were first transitioning, I guess you kind of are pretty strong in your veganism. But when people want to break, what do you suggest people give up first? What do you think is hardest for people to give up?
Meat's definitely harder for people. I think people could get, because there's so many different alternatives for dairy. There's almond milk, cashew milk, coconut milk. There's so many different options for people, and cashew milk tastes just like milk. People, if you're trying to have something that's similar taste to milk, cow milk, cashew milk is creamy. It's not too creamy, but has that creamy-esque taste. Almond milk is kind of watery. So cashew milk, if you're looking for a great milk alternative, try cashew milk. You guys will love it. I just discovered it last year, and I've been on that hype train for a long time.
Cashew ice cream?
Oh yeah, I haven't tried that yet, because I did see one at my grocery store, but it has canola oil. Another oil I do try to avoid.
And why is that? Could you go into that?
Same deal. Every time I eat canola oil, you know how I talked about how it had dry patches underneath my eyes when I ate a lot of nuts. Canola oil dries up my scalp. It's higher on the GMO scale than most people know. A lot of chips have canola oil. A lot of products have canola oil in it. One of my buddies was talking about, he made a video, it's canola oil is definitely genetically modified oil and not a plant.
Yeah, there's not a canola plant, apparently.
Yeah. So watch out. Even if it says non-GMO canola oil, I avoid it at all costs. And I'm a big chipaholic. And a lot of the barbecue chips out there, one of my favorite chips has canola oil. Even the brands that are considered, healthy.
Yeah.
Canola oil. So also I've been hooked up with bean fields. If you guys do chips that are vegan, don't have canola oil, don't have gluten in them, bean field chips are freaking amazing. They're bean based. Is that the which one is that one? Cashew. Look at the ingredients. Does it say canola oil on it?
Yes, and it does, but it only says it says roasted cashews, and then in parentheses it says cashews and canola oil. So I'm assuming that's what they mix it up with. But still, why?
Why not?
Why not?
I think it's a cheaper oil for sure. Sunflower oil or safflower oil don't really affect me that way, or coconut oil. Definitely in chips, a lot of chips nowadays, the alternatives for me is if they're cooked in sunflower oil, which also I definitely sunflower butter, man. You guys got to try that. That's amazing.
But you didn't have the chips?
Oh, these chips, bean fields. If you don't have them, they have different flavors. Barbecue to get the guy. Man, I have 2 of them. But bean fields, because I did a review on them. and I posted up on Instagram, and freaking hooked me up with a box. They're like, man, we saw your review on YouTube, and they contacted me through Instagram, and they're like, we like what you did, and they hooked me up with a big whole box. I was in heaven.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
And then they hooked me up for I had a challenge, and they hooked me up with another big box so I could give whoever won the challenge. I had 3 winners, and I sent them bean field chips. So it's pretty cool.
Well, isn't it crazy? I don't know if you remember this, but wasn't canola oil everyone knew it was bad, and then all of a sudden, I feel like the last 6 months, all the vegans are like, so I'm deep frying this in canola oil and all this stuff, and I was kind of confused. I mean, wasn't it bad? Everyone knows it's bad. I don't know why we're using it.
I think a lot of people think hydrogenated oils are bad, and they are terrible, but they just focus on that, on seeing non-hydrogenated oils. So if you guys do see that on the back of your ingredients list, it's probably a terrible food that you're picking up, and it helps increase the shelf life. So they infuse metals or something into the oil, so then that product stays on the shelf longer. Yeah. And you could die quicker. I'm just kidding.
And then you die quicker.
Oh man, there's Jif. Look at the back of Jif. Jif. It chips you off. Jif peanut butter. It is the first ingredient is probably non-hydrogenated oils or high fructose oil.
Right.
And they're feeding these to the kids. It's something. I used to live off Jif when I was a kid. My parents are corrupting me at a young age. Be smart. Be smart.
Well, this ice cream, I'm not really even into ice cream, but I cooked dinner for these firefighters in my hometown, and I cooked them all this stuff to get them to go vegan. And I bought them this ice cream, and then they came and they had to leave because there was a fire. But now I just have this ice cream, and I'm like, well, I guess I can try it, you know?
What do you like to do?
I like to freeze bananas and then put them in a blender with dates and caramel sauce, and it makes a really good ice cream.
How do you feel about bananas?
They're so confusing because, Freely the banana girl, which we'll talk about your favorite YouTubers here in a second, but Freely and them eat 20 bananas a day. And that's crazy to me. But at the same time, she's got the results that everyone wants. For me, I don't really like bananas that much to be eating bananas. But what do you think?
Bananas. You got to think of things mashed. Oatmeal and bananas are in the category of this subject that I'm about to talk about. You cook oatmeal, right? And how's the texture?
Depends. Mushy?
Yeah. When you chew a banana, how is it? Is this very sticky, mushy, right?
Yeah.
And you think of you digesting that, and that it's going to react to that in your gut just the same. That's why I cut oatmeal out of my diet. I cut bananas out of my diet because I didn't want to feel that heaviness in my gut. I don't know how these people feel. I haven't asked them these heavy bananas. These people that buy boxes of bananas. I'm I don't want to ask them how they really feel in the gut. Are they feeling weighed down? Do they think it's supposed to feel that way? Or are they just reaping the benefits of the tons of potassium they put in their body? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like even if you did ask them, it's not like they're going to be like, oh, I feel like shit. They're going to definitely try to not upsell it's fake or anything, but just try to overplay the fact that they feel really good.
Yeah. That's why I used to be avid. I loved bananas back in the day. But then when essentially I put them in my shakes and I'm like, how do I really feel? I didn't feel great. I didn't feel the greatest I could be. I'm not going to say you shouldn't eat bananas ever, but you add in them 5-10 bananas a day is pretty extreme. It's probably weighing in your gut. That's why oatmeal as well. I used to put a lot of oats. I used to eat a lot of oats, and I used to feel heavy and weighed down. Sweet potatoes, guys. It feels so light in your stomach. Yams especially. There's Oriental sweet potatoes. But if you get a yam that's super red and you cook it and it becomes caramelized in the oven and it's just baby food, that right there is heaven. And that right there is not going to make you weigh down in the gut. I guarantee it because I'm living proof. I eat 4 of them a day. And I mean, I might as well be like one of those crazy banana fiends and just be a sweet potato fiend.
But
Then
then
they might
I
say
guess
the same.
if you're living proof of that, then I mean that would only confirm that the bananas are maybe.
That's true. Like I said before, everyone's different. They could thrive off bananas. That's just not me. They might not thrive off sweet potatoes like I do, and that's just me. We're all different. But I just want to ask them one of these days, like, how do you really feel? Like, honest. I mean, if they feel great, more power to them.
Or even just be around them for a little bit and see how they really are instead of how they portray themselves on YouTube.
Yeah, it's all an image, one-sided, just like how the meat industry is. It's just an image you see. You see the results. You see a piece of steak. You see a body. But I mean, I'd rather them be eating 20,000 bananas a day than them going eating a piece of meat. You know.
Okay, so here's a new question I haven't asked anybody yet. What do you think is not portrayed on your social media that we would like to know about you?
What's not portrayed? I don't know. I'm definitely a hard worker in the sense, and I'm definitely hard-headed. That's why I've been so disciplined. When I'm set on something, there's no turning back. If it's something positive, that's why when I made the transition to being a vegan, the thought of quitting never crossed my mind. The thought when people ask me, are you just going to stay vegan for forever? I'm like, I'm in this. So definitely win it. The thought of once a day I'm going to start eating meat again has never crossed my mind, ever. It's just, this is the journey that I'm walking, the journey that I'm facing. Also, another negative, there's a negative about me, like there's a negative on everyone. I take things, I make small issues into, like, I amplify them too much. Like if there's an issue right here or a task that I have to do, I amplify it in my head for some reason, and I don't know why. I make it harder on myself. And then when I go through it, I'm like, why did I do that? That's just life. And that's just growing, I think. Just seeing a situation that's different, a challenge that's different, and then I know that I can essentially do it and achieve it. I don't know why I put so much pressure on myself.
Do you feel like that's your like artistic side, or?
I think that's life. I put that on life and not experience everything that I can. And that's just growing experiences. Seeing that, living on your own, doing something, having your own business and dealing with that, a small issue could be amplified into a bigger issue and shouldn't. And that's what I'm definitely working on. Trying to be more positive than I already am to myself and not taking things so seriously. I think that has to be, just have fun with it. Just if there's a task that you have to complete, set a goal, set a time that you're going to do it, and do it.
So could you, for all the people listening and for all the middle America, families that are the nuclear family that still exists in mid-America, could you give them a specific meal, like a very specific meal of what they could eat?
What they could eat? All right.
Yeah.
This is how we're going to run down. That's pretty hard. Depending on how much you have to cook. I mean, I would say have salad. Have nice mixed, rich, dark greens, or you can massage some kale. Massage some kale is great too. You massage it with a good balsamic vinaigrette or something like that. Put it on your plate. That's your greens. That's your goodness. Simple. Have a half of sweet potato. Cook it in the oven. Bam, there's your carbs. You could drizzle some coconut oil on that sweet potato. It's your fats. So you got your fats, you got your carbs, and you got your raw greens. As far as protein goes, if you want to do some quinoa mixed up in there, some lentils, put a little bit of seasoning on both of those, mix it all up. Or if you just want to cook a black bean burger, there's tons of recipes out there. That's your complete meal. Because what do you add in a black bean burger? You get black beans, you can add quinoa on it too, and those are complete proteins that you're putting into this masterpiece. And then there's your meal. But I mean, that's pretty. I don't know if that's simple, but that's if I had a meal like that every single day, that would be amazing. One of my clients actually, I'm like, when are you going to cook me black bean burgers? She's like amazing at cooking. I wish I was her son, but um, no disrespect to my mother. I love her to death. But um, she like cooked a bunch of black bean burgers and like gave me some and gave my other clients some. They're freaking amazing. They're simple, packed with protein, and you don't need a freaking beef burger. I guarantee you will not feel as great after you eat that beef burger, whether eating that, plant-based black bean burger. Yeah.
Could you give people an example of how you cook your sweet potatoes? What's your favorite way?
Simple. But for me, I cook 24 at a time. So my oven is stuffed with sweet potatoes. Depending how much you cook, it's pretty simple. Put a pan, put like aluminum foil underneath, get your sweet potato, stab it, with a knife. Make sure it's like goes halfway through. You just don't want to poke it with a fork. That's not the way to go. If you really want your sweet potato to be caramelized and mushy, if you're gonna get those yams, stab it halfway with like a knife, a couple of pokes. Put it in your oven for about an hour at like 450, and you'll get some good sweet potatoes.
At an hour?
Yeah. Well, I cook mine. I've cooked 24. This is my daily Monday routine. I buy my sweet potatoes, come home, set it all up, stab them all. I preheat my oven to like 475, and then I throw them in for an hour and 40 minutes. So I'm cooking 24 sweet potatoes.
And when you are done with them, do you reheat them in the microwave or do you throw them on the stove or?
Microwave, no. Do you use microwave?
I think the last time I'm going to use a microwave, yesterday I was trying to cook like a stir fry with a bunch of vegetables. And I live in a really small town and my grocery store didn't have Brussels sprouts. So I got frozen ones. And I did use the stove. I did not use the microwave. Yeah. So I try not to, just because I'm like, how stupid would it be if I was vegan and then died from like microwave cancer or whatever? Like that would suck. But how do you reheat them after you've cooked them?
For me, my diet is definitely in the extreme category because I have 3 to 4 shakes a day. So I'm drinking my meals rather than eating it. So once I'm done cooking them, I just pop them in the fridge and then I just put them in my shakes. So I don't really need to reheat them because you want a shake that's not warm. You don't want a warm shake. You want a cool shake, smoothie or whatever. So that's what I do. If I do want like a warm sweet potato, it's usually the day that I'm cooking them. And it's like, man, if you ever had a sweet potato right from the oven that's caramelized and it's like dripping with that caramelization, definitely have it right after you cook them. You'll be amazed. It's like you put butter on it, but you didn't. That's how like this infatuation of sweet potatoes. But if they're definitely amazing, you should definitely try them. They're a hidden gem, and a lot more people need to know about them, I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So when you date people, do you prefer that you date a vegan, or are you more minded to it?
That's what. That's another story. When I'm dating, if I'm looking for a chick, I don't want to say it's a deal breaker, but I want someone that's definitely open-minded to the thought of the vegan lifestyle. I'm not going to really endorse or be behind somebody, have someone to my side that's, all about the meat and not going to change their ways, or that's so close-minded to the fact that, meat's the only way to go.
Right.
So I'm definitely picky in that sense. If that's the answer you want to hear. I'm definitely picky. Also, a lot of people don't like a busy schedule. A lot of people, I don't know if we could take this in the relationship realm, but I haven't dated in quite some time. 3-4 years? No, 3 years. 2.5. 2.5. But that's due to the sense of me wanting to grow my business, me wanting to focus on that time. There's a lot of people who love to suck your time. And I feel like I'm not in the state right now, or haven't found the right person that it's in that mindset and they're doing the same thing. If I could find someone who's just wants to see me during the weekends or just every now and then, well, that sounds bad, but like on the weekends hang out or just sporadically throughout the week, but not grub your energy so much.
I'm like, I don't even know. That's pretty regular to me. Like the weekends, I don't. How else are you? How much else are you supposed to hang out with somebody?
A lot. I mean, you'd be surprised of my. No, I don't want to. But you'd be surprised of how many people I just had a hard day at work. I just want to relax, and they're like, oh, come over. Or like, I want to do this art piece. I'm doing art, and I have some free time. I have like 5 hours. I want to do art. If you don't want to come over and do art with me, then I don't want to really hang out with you. Or you don't want to work. If like you just want to chill and do nothing. Like I don't want to waste my time with that. I'd rather be productive. You be productive with me, and I'm sure there's people out there that are females that are in the mindset of grinding and working on themselves as well, or just want to hang out on the weekends when we have some free time. But during the week, I'm like solid booked. And that's how a lot of I went on dates and stuff like that. And that's definitely a deal breaker for them because I don't have time. Well, I have time, but I have to allot that time to grow my business and grow myself. If you don't want to help me in that process, you just want to chill and do nothing, then I can't waste my time with you.
Right.
That sounds bad though, but it's not going to make a healthy relationship if I commit to that person and then they think that's okay for me, but then I'm like, I can't. It's not going to be a healthy relationship at all. I don't think.
It's pretty interesting. Every person that I've interviewed, except for 2, one was married for a long time to a vegan, and the very first girl I interviewed, she was in a relationship with a guy that's not vegan but eats like she's like showing him a lifestyle, and he eats a lot more plants because of her. But every single one of us is like, yeah, I haven't dated pretty much from the time you go vegan. It's like I don't know what that has to do with really anything. Like I don't know if that's our consciousness rising or.
I mean, you see things different. Like you break that wall. I think you break that blanket that's over your face. You uncover yourself and you really see things more clearly. But I'm not saying vegans are like the greatest or superheroes, but I think we're in touch with our surroundings better. I see when I went vegan, I am definitely more aware of my body and aware of myself versus when I wasn't, I was eating whatever and thinking I was feeling great. But now I notice if I eat something, how does it make me feel? I'm way more in touch with my body now. And I'm like, oh, okay, I shouldn't eat that, or I shouldn't, probably step away from that. Or if I find something great, I'm like, man, I need to eat that, add that to my diet more. So I think we're more in touch, depending on what level you are in, I think. But so it's good to
you are.
Man, I'm versus like I'm very in touch with my body and knowing what works for me and like the libido aspect of so if you guys want to get really raw into this, no pun intended, but libido and testosterone and your sex drive is huge. I think when I went, because I thought my sex drive was high when I was a meat eater. I was mistaken. As soon as I went vegan, whether it's my sex drive skyrocketed, and the libido, my energy skyrocketed, and I think that's due to the case of let's take it back a notch to when I was you're younger, you have like all this testosterone or whatnot when you're a male, and that's natural. But when you get to the age, when you start growing in age, or like when I was in my 20s, early 20s, I was still a meat eater or whatnot, and I wouldn't say it was slowing down, but it was definitely something was suppressing it. And I noticed when I like drank whey protein, I used to feel great the first week, and after that, I felt like crap. Like my energy levels dropped. And when I used to eat eggs, I'm like, so I just dropped, whey protein, and I used to like eat eggs and like raw eggs, or used to chug them down. I felt great, but then that stopped. But that plant-based diet, it's just like your energy levels rise, the libido rises, and then other things ensue when you're having that high energy in your life. I'm gonna give a shout out to Sun Warrior because that's my number one favorite protein out there. They've been in contact with me. They've hooked me up with in the past with proteins. I really discovered pea protein, and that's the best supplement-based, powder-based protein that works for me. I'm not gonna say it's gonna work the best for you, but it has definitely helped me in that realm of added protein into my diet.
Well, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is I didn't even realize it's been like an hour and a half.
Oh, that's fine.
The bad news is my computer's at 9%.
Oh, dang. You don't have a cord?
I do, but I don't think there's a pluggy in this room. And you know what? Let's go till it gets to like 4%, and then we'll just end it. And then, well, do you feel like the world's gonna go vegan, or do you feel like it's gonna be a battle?
I feel there has to be a great change, whether it's going vegetarian, whether it's going vegan, whether it's cutting less meat out of our diet, so we're having less animals to raise and feed. Cut that by half. It's going to do a great amount to our Earth, and this climate change and stuff like that. It's just really real, if that makes sense. What great changes are happening to our Earth, and a lot of people are blinded by it and not really seeing it. But I think that's the great thing about social media is that we are able to see now versus being sheltered and what we just taught and told what's happening to us and just reading in books. Now we get to see what's happening on the other side of the world because people are videotaping it. People are showing us, documentaries are showing us what's really happening to our glaciers are falling apart. It's just crazy. And I think great change definitely needs to happen. And if a person decides to go vegan, that's a great change. And I'm not a huge endorser on telling you have to go vegan, but I'm going to tell you the facts, and I'm going to tell you why it's going to help you, and it's going to help the animals, and it's going to help our Earth. And we want to live here as long as possible because it's what's sustaining us. We haven't found another planet that's going to sustain us, and I don't really think we should be able to find another planet to move to so we could thrive on and then eventually just destroy like we're doing to Earth. So if more people went vegans, it would be amazing. Vegetarians, it would be amazing. It'll help slow down this climate change, and maybe we could reverse it. But there's a lot of negative things out there that's holding us back, whether it's plastic in our oceans, whether it's all these methane gases in our atmosphere that's holding us down. Yeah. Cows poop. If there's a lot of cows, there's a lot of shit everywhere. So it's hurting us. And how do they dispose of it? They throw it in lakes. Our oceans are getting all freaking contaminated. Then it kills our fish. It's crazy.
So I'm at 4%. So really quickly, can you tell people 2 goals that you have for yourself in 2016? They don't really have to be vegan related, but if you want to, that's fine. And then also, where can everyone reach you at?
2 goals to grow my business. This beginning of this fiscal year has been amazing, and I'm on stride to where I want to be, and I definitely want to keep that going. And I also want to build my YouTube following. It's been crazy. We gain followers every day. I think we're close to 1,600 followers, subscribers, and I've actually recently got my 4th check from YouTube. And it's awesome. Like you could get paid, people. You could get paid if you do what you love, if you're genuine, if you're show who you really are, then you're gonna get a following. Well, Facebook is James Rise, and if you're looking for that area, I live in Tampa, Florida. Also, if you do want to find me on Instagram, it's Physique. That's PHS, I think IC_vegan. Physique vegan. If you want to follow me on YouTube, it is youtube.com/ Upcrowd 2007. Or if you just type in Rise Fit, you'll find me. And thank you guys for having me.
That's it for this week. Wasn't he awesome? Thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions about becoming vegan or you're wanting to be on the podcast, please contact me at any social media. That's Dark Sunshine, DARKSUNSH 9. I can't wait to meet you.